So back to the channel guys in yet another chess video, and I'm back again with not just one but two games of mine in which I played brilliant moves. So without further ado, let's begin. So in this game I had the white pieces and I opened up with e4. We have knight to c6 on the board and I continued with d4, and after e5 I shoved the d pawn forward d5, knight c2 e7, and I played c4, gaining more space in the center. And after knight to g6 I played knight to c3. After bishop to b4 I continued with queen to c2. After knight to f6 I played bishop to d3. And after my opponent castled, I continued with a3, asking the bishop a question whether it wants to go away or whether black wants to trade the bishop for the knight. So my opponent traded, and after d6 I continued my development with knight to e2. Knight to h5 is on the board and I castled king side. After knight h to f4 I played knight takes f4. Knight takes f4 and now bishop takes f4. E takes f4 and f3. I continued with f3, although e5 was the best move because it opens up my bishop. That's why Stockfish is saying that e5 was the best move. But I wanted to play solidly, that's why I played f3. And after queen to g5 I continued with rook a to e1. Opponent played f5, which was a mistake, and it's already plus 2.16 for white now, because here comes the move e5. And after bishop to d7 I shoved shoved the e pawn forward with e6, bishop to e8, and now I continued with b4, expansioning on the queen's side. After bishop to g6 I continued with c5, and after rook a to c8 I shoved c pawn forward c6. After b6 I played bishop to a6, which was an inaccuracy, although queen to d2 was the best move here. But still, after rook c to e8 I played queen to c4. After h5 I played bishop to b7, planting my bishop on the b7 square. Although black can also trade the rook for the bishop, but I know he was never gonna do that. I mean, there were less chances of him trading rook for my bishop, trading his rook for my bishop. So anyways, after h4 I continued with h3, and after queen to d8 I played queen to a6, and after queen to b8 I continued with b5. Bishop to h5 is on the board, and now I played a4, g5 and a5. g4, which was a big mistake because I can simply take the pawn, and it's already plus 3 for white now. But I continued with a takes b6, and now I played e7, rook to f7, and I continued with queen to a1. It was a mistake, and it's already negative 1.12 for black now, which means black has a slight edge in this position. And after rook to g7, which was a blunder, and it's already plus 5.91 for white now. White is completely winning in this position, but I missed the move. F takes g4 was the best move, but I missed it, and it's back to negative 0.43 for black. And after g takes on h3 I played rook to g1, and after h takes on g2 it was a blunder. You know why? Because I can surprisingly play rook takes on g2, and if black plays bishop takes on f3, thinking he's got me, then he would simply blunder mate in one just like this. But I completely missed it. I only calculated up to bishop takes on f3 and I completely missed queen takes on g7 checkmate. So I continued with king to h2, which was a missed win. All after bishop takes on f3, I continued with queen to f6. Bishop to e4 is on the board, and now I played rook takes on e4. I gave an exchange sacrifice, sacrificing my rook for the bishop, and it was the best move in this position. And after f takes on e4, I played queen to e6 check, and it was a big mistake because it's negative 4.06 for black now, and I don't actually know why it's a mistake. Although after king to h8, which was a missed win, king to h7 was the best that could have maintained the advantage for black. Because here comes the brilliant move, rook takes on g2. Yeah, now why is this a brilliant move? See, I am already down enough material, so I am desperately looking for a draw in this position. And if this rook ever gets traded with black's rook, then it would be a big blunder by black, because black would blunder a draw. So instead of that, black continued with rook g takes on e7 and blundered a mate in 2 instead of a draw. How funny is it? Well, let us see what's the move for black in this position that maintains the advantage. Well, the move is taking the e7 pawn, but not with the g rook, but with the e rook, just like this. And it's back to negative 3.2 for black now. But after rook g takes on e7, my opponent completely missed it. Because here comes queen to h6 check. And black's problem here is that the king has no legal moves. So rook to h7 is forced, and here comes queen to f6 check. And it was in this position on move 40 that my opponent resigned the game and I won. Because again black has no move in this position. Only move for black, rook to g7 and queen to g7 would have been a checkmate. But even before that, my opponent resigned and I gained an amazing victory. Although I also blundered a lot in this position. Not blunder, but a mistake that could have costed me had my opponent not blundered in the end. So without further ado, let us move on to the next game. So in this game too, I had the white pieces in hand, and I opened up with d4, queen's pawn opening, and we have e6 on the board, and now I pushed c4, knight to f6, and I continued with bishop to d2, knight to c6, and we have knight to f3 on the board, d5, and after d5 I think this position looks somewhat similar to queen's gambit declined. Although I think it's the queen's gambit declined, I'm not sure about that. So if you do know about it, then you can comment below this video. So after d5 I pushed c5. After bishop to e7 I went for knight to c3. After my opponent castled, I played queen to c2. Knight to b4 gains a tempo over my queen, and I moved my queen to b3, although queen to a4 was the best move. Opponent plays a5 and I played a3 to kick away the knight. Knight went back to c6, and my queen again went to c2. h6 is on the board, and now I castled queen side, and it was an inaccuracy because it's already negative 1.21 for black now. And after knight to g4 I continued with bishop to e3, which was a mistake because now the knight can simply take my bishop. and I will have to take with the f f2 pawn, and that would be a uh, that would demolish my pawn structure. That's why it was a mistake. Although opponent continued with bishop to g5 and he missed his chance, and it's back to plus 1.72 for white now. And I played knight takes on g5. I captured the bishop with the wrong piece. Bishop takes on g5 was actually the best move, and I played knight takes on g5, which was a mistake. H takes on g5 and I continued with h3. Knight takes on e3 and f takes on e3. And e5 is not, we have e5 on the board, and now I continued with h4, g4 and g3. E takes d4, which was a mistake. You know why? Because e takes g4 allows me to recapture the pawn with my e pawn. Thus I will recover my pawn structure. I will improve my pawn structure again. That's what happened in the game. After e takes d4, it's plus 1.17 for white now. Queen to f6 was again a mistake, and I continued with knight takes on d5 because it simply blundered a pawn. And after queen to f2, I continued with queen to e4. Although e4 was the best move, queen to e4 was a mistake. And after queen to g3, I had a nasty idea in my mind, and I continued with bishop to h3. Can you tell what's the point here? Well, the point is, if the bishop ever gets captured, then white would be completely winning, because knight to f6 check, and oh sorry, what happened in the game was actually g takes on h3. My opponent counter blundered. But do you know why bishop to h3 is a blunder? Because this move can be refuted by black, because black can simply play bishop to e6. And if I try to play rook d to g1 now, it would be a big mistake, because black can simply trade off his bishop for my really strong knight. And after these series of moves, black can simply move his queen and maintain the advantage. So, but my opponent counter blundered in this position with g takes on h3, and now you already got the move here. The move here is knight to f6 check. Can you see how brilliant of a move is this? Well, black's got no choice but to capture back the knight, because if the king ever moves, then it would be a checkmate just like this. So actually in the game my opponent recaptured the knight, g takes on f6, and it's already plus 7.58 for white now, because I played rook d to g1 and my opponent's queen is trapped. So he tried to sacrifice the queen for the rook by playing queen takes on g1 check. It's already a mate and 4 now, because after rook takes on g1 and king to h8, the king is stuck on the h file, and I can easily get my queen to the h file, but I missed it and instead played queen to d5. My idea was to go to the h5 square via queen to d5, but I completely missed the point. There was a faster mate with queen to f4. So after f5, my opponent again blundered a mate, because I can simply play queen to f3 and mate him in the next few moves. But I completely missed it. Rook to g3, and it's back to negative 1.33 for black now, because black can simply play rook to g8 to trade off the rooks, and he will have enough pieces to fend off the queen. So after rook to g3, opponent plays bishop to e6 and again blunders a mate in 2. But now I saw it, and I quickly played Queen to f3, and there is no defense to this mate in 1 Queen to h5 mate. So my opponent tried knight takes d4, but to no avail because Queen to h5 simply ended the game. So that's it for today, guys. Hope you all enjoyed this video. If you liked this video, then please share this video with your family and friends, and also do not forget to subscribe and clicking the bell so you won't miss any of my future videos. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.